world saturated with noise, flashy displays, and constant bids for attention, true magnetism often lies in quiet confidence. Silent attractiveness isn't about loud declarations of charisma or chasing validation. It's a subtle, steady force rooted in self-assurance, integrity, and the quiet mastery of one's presence. Imagine walking into a room and commanding respect not by speaking the loudest or seeking the spotlight, but by simply being calm, composed, and authentically grounded. This is the essence of silent attractiveness, a rare blend of inner strength and grace that draws people in without effort. The ancient Stoics understood this power long ago. They emphasized virtues like self-discipline, emotional resilience, and humility, teaching that true influence comes from aligning your actions with your values, not pandering to external approval. In this exploration, we delve into 11 timeless habits inspired by Stoic wisdom that cultivate silent attractiveness. These aren't quick fixes or superficial tricks. They're transformative practices that refine how you carry yourself, connect with others, and navigate the world. From embracing quiet independence to mastering the art of presence, each habit is a thread in the tapestry of silent magnetism. You'll learn how subtlety in scent, the power of listening, and the elegance of restraint can leave deeper impressions than any boastful display. These principles aren't about changing who you are. They're about uncovering the best version of yourself, one intentional step at a time. If you're ready to move beyond the noise and cultivate a presence that resonates long after you've left the room, let's begin. Silent attractiveness isn't about being seen, it's about being remembered. Step 1. Embrace authentic independence. In a society where constant validation has become the currency of self-worth, where likes, views, and applause serve as stand-ins for identity, embracing authentic independence is nothing short of radical. It is the quiet rebellion of the soul against the clamor of the crowd. The ancient Stoics knew that freedom was not the absence of constraint, but the mastery of one's own will. True independence, they taught, is not about separating oneself from others out of pride or self-importance, but about anchoring the self so deeply in virtue that nothing external can disturb your peace. As Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. This self-mastery forms the foundation of silent attractiveness. It is the invisible yet unshakable presence of someone who no longer looks outward to be told who they are. Authentic independence is not loneliness or withdrawal. Rather, it is inner fullness, a quiet contentment that arises when one's actions, thoughts, and desires are in harmony with their values. The Stoics called this internal coherence eudaimonia, a flourishing life. It is a state in which your dignity is no longer rented out to passing opinions, nor is your direction dictated by the winds of fashion or peer pressure. Such a person walks into a room and does not need to prove themselves, because they are already whole. Their presence alone commands respect, not through volume, but through stillness, not through performance, but through authenticity. There is a subtle magnetism in the calm eyes of one who has learned to stand alone, without feeling incomplete. To embody this independence is to recognize that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. When you can trust your own judgment, keep your own counsel, and enjoy your own company, you become less reactive, less desperate for attention, and more rooted in truth. Seneca wrote, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of needs." What could be more quietly powerful than a person who no longer chases approval because they have already found alignment within? This is the essence of silent attractiveness. The man or woman who sits comfortably with their own soul, who does not flinch in silence or solitude, and who does not bend themselves to fit the shape of others' expectations. Practically, this means making time for stillness and reflection, carving out space where you can hear your own thoughts unpolluted by the noise of the world. It means examining your choices. Am I doing this because it is right or because I hope to be liked? It means developing a habit of solitude, not as a means of escape, but as a discipline of presence. Learning to be enough without a crowd. And it means slowly, patiently replacing the question, will they approve, with uses this, honor who I am becoming. In doing so, you remove the hooks that the world uses to pull you in all directions. You become grounded, sovereign. And when others encounter that kind of self-trust, humble, steady, and unshakable, they are drawn to it like a calm harbor in a storm. Silent attractiveness begins here, not with charm or cleverness, but with integrity. Not with how you are seen, but with how deeply you are rooted. The more you rely on your own compass, the less you need the map drawn by others. And that, paradoxically, is when people begin to notice you, not because you tried to stand out, but because you dared to stand still. 2. Master Silent Elegance. There is a kind of beauty that does not clamor to be seen, and a kind of grace that speaks louder than words. Silent elegance is the embodiment of this truth, a cultivated presence that combines serenity of mind, intention of movement, and refinement in conduct. It is not concerned with appearance for its own sake, but with the deeper harmony between outer expression and inner stillness. The Stoics did not believe in flamboyance or pretension. They believed in dignity, earned, not displayed. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often wrote of carrying oneself with calm discipline and measured grace, noting that the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do. That is the essence of silent elegance, a quiet authority grounded in presence, not performance. To master silent elegance is to move through the world with conscious restraint, to speak with purpose and to act from principle. It begins with the body, for even the ancients knew that posture and bearing reflect the state of the soul. Stand tall, not arrogantly, but with grounded poise, as if your spine were a column of virtue holding your thoughts upright. Maintain calm, steady eye contact, not as a challenge, but as a signal of openness and presence. Let your gestures be few but meaningful. Let your pace be unhurried. As Epictetus taught, we should not allow our outer behavior to betray inner chaos. Elegance begins with self-command. Speech, too, becomes an instrument of elegance. The Stoics warned often against idle chatter, gossip, and impulsive reactions. Seneca wrote, "Speech should be measured and restrained." A silently elegant person speaks with clarity, listens more than they talk, and waits before replying, allowing words to rise from understanding, not emotion. In a world obsessed with immediacy, this kind of restraint is rare and disarming. People will remember not just what you said, but how you said it, and more importantly, how they felt in your presence. There is also elegance in how one responds to discomfort, rudeness, or challenge. The Stoic sage is not easily provoked because their sense of dignity is not vulnerable to insult. True refinement is seen not in comfort, but in pressure, in the ability to maintain composure when others collapse into complaint or aggression. This is the calm strength Marcus Aurelius called apatheia, not apathy, but the serene detachment that comes from knowing your soul is your own. Respond thoughtfully, speak gently, even when firmness is required. Walk away without drama. In doing so, you radiate a silent power that is more impressive than dominance. Silent elegance also manifests in your daily rituals, how you dress, how you groom, how you show up for the world. The Stoics believed in simplicity, but never sloppiness. Your appearance should reflect intention, not indulgence. Choose attire that is subtle, clean, and respectful, not to impress, but to honor yourself and the people you encounter. This quiet refinement communicates self-respect and consideration without a word being spoken. To cultivate this habit, begin by slowing down. Rushing breeds carelessness, and elegance requires intention. Practice mindful observation. Notice how people carry themselves, how energy shifts in a room, how silence can speak. Replace urgency with rhythm and reaction with response. Before you speak, pause. Before you move, breathe. In this pause lies power, the space where you choose how to show up, not just how to appear. Mastering silent elegance is not about adopting a performance or putting on airs. It is about aligning the outer expression with an inner tranquility. It is about refining your conduct so that it reflects the depth of your values. As the Stoics taught, elegance is not something worn, it is something earned through consistency, mindfulness, and self-respect. When you embody this, others will not merely see you, they will feel the difference in your presence. In a world of noise, the one who moves with grace, speaks with purpose, and listens with sincerity leaves a deeper impression than the one who demands attention. Silent elegance does not strive to be seen. It allows itself to be remembered. Step 3. Subtle Scent of Sophistication. There is a power that speaks through silence, a form of communication that bypasses words entirely. One of the most quietly commanding ways we express ourselves is through scent, not in loud synthetic bursts, but in subtle whispers that linger gently in the mind of others. The Stoics were not concerned with vanity, but they deeply understood the impact of intentionality. Even in matters as delicate and seemingly superficial as grooming or fragrance, the ancient masters knew that the way one presented oneself to the world was a reflection of the care one gave to their inner world. Seneca warned against indulgence, yes, but he also criticized neglect. "Avoid both luxury and filth," he wrote. Cleanliness, simplicity, and quiet refinement were not seen as shallow concerns, but as signs of dignity, order, and respect toward oneself and others. To cultivate the subtle scent of sophistication is to understand that your physical presence, your breath, your clothing, your hygiene, the gentle trace of your fragrance, sends out a message long before you speak. A curated, understated aroma that reflects your character, not just your taste, becomes a kind of invisible poetry. It doesn't announce you, it doesn't chase compliments, it simply exists, quietly woven into the air around you like a signature only the observant notice. A subtle, clean, elegant fragrance signals something profound. This is someone who pays attention, not to show off, but to show respect. This isn't about expensive perfumes or elaborate grooming rituals. The Stoics would scoff at ostentation. It is about conscious care, about bringing intention to the details of daily life. Marcus Aurelius believed that our outer life should be a mirror of our inner discipline, and that every action, even rising in the morning or putting on our tunic, should reflect a devotion to order and excellence. In this way, even the act of choosing a scent becomes philosophical. You're not simply wearing something pleasant. You're selecting something that aligns with the person you are becoming. Is it calm and grounded? Clean and balanced? Strong, yet restrained? These are the questions of a person who approaches life deliberately. Sophistication begins with purity, and that means hygiene is foundational. A well-kept appearance, clean nails, fresh breath, properly cared for skin and hair, is not about attracting attention. It is about being in harmony with the world around you. When you're clean and composed, you're not imposing yourself on others. You're making space for mutual respect. A person who enters a room with quiet cleanliness creates a sense of calm around them, without needing to demand it. There is beauty in restraint, in knowing where enough is enough. This is the Stoic virtue of sophronie. Moderation in all things, especially in the way we adorn or present ourselves. In a culture saturated with artificial excess, loud colognes, overly curated appearances, attention-hungry aesthetics, silent sophistication becomes an act of subtle rebellion. It is the choice to whisper when everyone else shouts. It is the decision to cultivate presence through care, not performance. The one who wears a soft, clean scent, not to mask insecurity, but to quietly reflect discipline, invites others to lean closer, to wonder, to remember. That's the paradox of silent attractiveness. The more you refine yourself in private, the more unforgettable you become in public. To practice this habit, start with the basics. Establish a daily ritual of grooming, not as obligation, but as a form of self-honoring. Choose your wardrobe not based on trends, but on what feels composed and confident. Find a signature scent that is light, elegant, and personal. Not what's popular, but what suits your inner tone. Let your fragrance become like a well-written sentence. Simple, clear and profound. Never too much, never too little, just enough to express refinement. The Stoics understood that every action, down to how you wash your hands or fold your robe, was a chance to embody virtue. In the same way, how you care for your body and how you carry that body into the world tells a story. Is it a story of haste, neglect, or distraction? Or is it a story of presence, order, and silent strength? In the end, the subtle scent of sophistication is not merely olfactory, it is philosophical. It is about how you tend to the details that others overlook, and how that quiet care shapes your legacy. When you walk past someone and they feel something graceful linger long after you've gone, you haven't just worn a fragrance, you've cultivated a presence. And that, as the Stoics would say, is the true mark of a person in command of themselves. Step 4. Be fully present. In our age of digital overload, fractured attention, and relentless multitasking, presence has become an endangered virtue. It is paradoxical. Though we are more connected than ever before, many feel more isolated, unseen, and unheard. To be fully present, then, is to offer something rare. It is to resist the pull of a world constantly vying for your attention and to plant yourself firmly in the now. Presence is the art of truly being, not as a performance, not as a tactic, but as a natural expression of grounded self-awareness. In a sea of divided minds, a present soul becomes a sanctuary. The Stoics taught that our greatest power lies in our ability to direct attention and intention. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often returned to the theme of presence with quiet urgency. Do every act of your life as though it were the last. This was not a call to panic or morbid obsession with death. It was a reminder that only the present is real. The past is memory, the future is imagination, and yet we, so often, live everywhere but here. We ruminate on what has already passed or obsess over what has not yet come to be. In doing so, we forfeit the only moment that ever truly belongs to us. This one. To be fully present is to reclaim this moment with deliberate care. It means giving your entire being to whatever you are doing. Whether you are speaking with a friend, sipping tea, working, walking, or simply breathing. There is no hierarchy of experiences when it comes to presence. The ordinary becomes sacred when it is lived consciously. Washing dishes can be as rich with presence as meditating under a tree, if you are fully there. This is the wisdom the Stoics lived by, that philosophy is not found in grand gestures, but in how you do the smallest things. In social settings, presence is magnetic. It conveys respect, maturity, and self-possession. When you engage with someone fully, making eye contact, listening without interrupting, resisting the impulse to check your phone, you offer more than politeness. You offer dignity. In a distracted world, to give someone your attention is to nourish them. Most people are not used to being fully seen or heard. We skim each other's words, half listen, rehearse our next response while the other is speaking. But when you meet someone's gaze with calm steadiness, when you wait to speak until they've truly finished, when your body language signals receptivity instead of impatience, you become unforgettable. Not because you tried to impress, but because you were there. This kind of presence stems from internal stillness. You cannot fake it. It must be cultivated. It arises when your mind is not racing to the next task or trapped in yesterday's noise. This is why presence is not just a social skill, it is a spiritual practice. It is meditation in motion. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when we take responsibility for the contents of our own mind. To be present is to free ourselves from mental slavery. It is to become sovereign again, no longer reacting to every impulse, notification, or imagined scenario. It is to respond, not react. To act with intention rather than habit. In daily life, this practice transforms everything. Eating becomes a sensual, grateful act rather than rushed refueling. A walk in nature becomes communion with the living world. Even a brief exchange with a stranger becomes a chance to radiate calm, kindness, and humanity. These are not small things. They shape the energy you carry into the world and the impression you leave behind. A person who moves with presence becomes like a still lake, deep, reflective, undisturbed by the surface storms that toss others about. You sense that they know themselves. You trust them. You want to linger in their energy. There is also a profound humility in presence. It means setting aside ego, the need to dominate a conversation, to prove a point, to be somewhere better. It means surrendering to what is. When you are fully present, you are not trying to escape or improve the moment. You are accepting it completely. This is what the Stoics called amor fati, the love of fate. It is not passive resignation, but active embrace. Even if the moment is painful, boring, or challenging, presence allows you to greet it with openness. You are no longer at war with reality. You are in harmony with it. And yet, presence is difficult. It requires discipline. The modern mind is trained to scatter, trained by apps, media, endless scrolling. We are rewarded for multitasking, praised for busyness, and conditioned to believe that faster is better. The result? An epidemic of anxiety, alienation, and superficiality. The Stoic antidote is deliberate slowness. It is choosing depth over speed. It is pausing before you speak. It is putting your full weight behind your words, your gaze, your movements. One of the most powerful ways to build this habit is through micro-mindfulness. When you speak with someone, try to be so present that nothing else exists. When you drink water, taste it. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you work, focus on one task, not 10. These are simple practices, but over time, they forge a new way of living, a deeper way, a quieter way. And the beauty of it is this: you don't need to announce anything. You don't need to explain. People will feel it. Your presence will be felt long after your words are forgotten. To be fully present is not to be perfect. It is to be awake. It is to step into your life as though it matters, because it does. Every moment you meet with your whole being becomes infused with meaning. Every person you encounter, while fully present, feels validated. And slowly, without effort or showmanship, you become magnetic. Not because you shout, but because you listen. Not because you chase, but because you are still. The Stoics knew that we could not control the world, but we could control where we place our attention, and where our attention goes, our life follows. So bring your mind back, again and again, to this breath, this step, this word. There is no need to rush, no need to impress. Just be here. That is enough. That is everything. Step 5. Cultivate a touch of mystery. In a culture obsessed with visibility, where every meal, thought, and emotion is broadcast for public consumption, mystery has become a rare and captivating force. It is the quiet refusal to reveal everything at once. It is the elegant pause before a reply. It is the art of presence without exposure, of intimacy without surrendering your soul on demand. Mystery is not deception, it is discernment. And in the realm of silent attractiveness, it is the sacred boundary between who you are and what others are permitted to know. To cultivate a touch of mystery is to understand that not everything about you is meant for public display. There is strength in selective silence and beauty in restraint. The Stoics taught this through their lived example and written words. Epictetus, in particular, advised speaking only when necessary, and only when what you say adds value. "Let silence be your general rule," he wrote, "or say only what is necessary, and in few words." Why? Because those who speak less often speak with more weight. Their words carry depth because they are not diluted by excess. Mystery is not about hiding who you are, it is about unveiling yourself with intention. It is knowing that truth can be revealed slowly, in layers, like the petals of a flower opening over time. There is an elegance in this. When you hold back some part of yourself, not out of fear, but out of self-respect, you create space for others to lean in. Curiosity is born in that space. Relationships deepen, not when every detail is dumped at once, but when they unfold like a journey, step by step, built on discovery and trust. In the digital world, oversharing has become normalized. We are encouraged to narrate our lives in real time, to explain every emotion, justify every decision, and project a polished image of constant self-disclosure. But the ancient Stoics would see this as a trap, a giving away of inner stillness for the fleeting reward of validation. They believed that wisdom is quiet, and that the self is something to be guarded, not flaunted. To them, not everything is for display, because not everything is under your control, and your reputation, once you give it over to the crowd, becomes a fragile thing, easily broken. To cultivate mystery, one must first be at peace with solitude. You must be content in your own company, not needing to fill silence with words or loneliness with attention. The mysterious person often carries an air of independence, not because they are aloof or arrogant, but because they do not rely on external approval to feel whole. This autonomy, this comfort in one's own skin, becomes palpable. Others sense it, they are drawn to it, they want to know more, but only receive what is given freely with intention. This is not manipulation. It is presence with boundaries. It is allowing others to come closer, but only when they've earned the right to do so. It is the refusal to explain every choice, to justify every path taken. When someone asks, "Why did you do that?" you may smile gently and say, "Because it felt right." That is enough. The need to defend every decision comes from insecurity, but the one who walks quietly, with confidence and mystery, walks unburdened by the weight of explanation. Practically speaking, cultivating mystery means mastering the power of less. Speak less, but speak with meaning. Share less, but share with authenticity. Let your actions carry more weight than your words. Let others witness your growth, not through proclamations, but through presence. Let your silence say, "There is more to me than what you see." The people who matter, the ones worth keeping close, will not be deterred by this. They will be drawn in, intrigued not by spectacle, but by substance. It also means embracing your layers. Let your interests be vast and private. Read books no one expects. Pursue hobbies that need no validation. Travel, learn, explore. Not to impress others, but to enrich your soul. And when asked, don't rush to share the entire journey. Say, "Yes, I've been there," or simply smile. That moment of subtlety will linger longer than a long story ever could. Mystery is also a form of power. When you are not easily read, you cannot be easily manipulated. When you are not easily moved to react, you remain rooted. The Stoics emphasize this often. Control your emotions, govern your tongue, and observe more than you reveal. In doing so, you create an inner citadel, one that cannot be stormed by gossip, flattery, or malice. You become sovereign. This kind of quiet strength is not for everyone. Some will be frustrated by it. They will want more of you, sooner, faster. But the ones who are patient, the ones who are also walking a path of depth and presence, they will stay. And they will see you not as distant, but as deliberate, not as cold, but as composed. And in that mutual slowness, true connection is born. To live mysteriously in a world that encourages exposure is a radical act of self-trust. It is a declaration that you are enough, even when the world cannot fully see you. You don't need to be decoded to be respected. You don't need to be understood to be valuable. The mystery you carry is not a mask, it is a mirror of your depth. So hold your silence as sacred. Share your truths like sacred incense, sparingly, with care. Walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth but does not need to advertise it. Let people discover you, not all at once, but over time. And in doing so, you'll become the kind of presence that lingers in memory. Step 6. Cultural wisdom. Expand your soul through many worlds. Silent attractiveness is not born merely from what you know, but from how you carry what you've learned. From the breadth of your mind, the openness of your heart, and the quiet humility with which you meet the unfamiliar. Cultural wisdom is this deeper kind of intelligence. It is the refined ability to navigate a complex, pluralistic world with grace, empathy, and unshakable self-possession. It's not just about knowing other cultures, it's about respecting them, listening to them, and letting them soften the edges of your own certainty. The ancient Stoics were not cloistered in provincial thinking. They were citizens of the world. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of one of the most expansive empires in history, wrote, "Adapt yourself to the things among which your lot has been cast, and love sincerely the fellow creatures with whom destiny has ordained that you shall live." This is the root of cultural wisdom. Not tolerance, but sincere curiosity. Not superficial niceness, but a deep reverence for the shared human condition beneath all our differences. To cultivate cultural wisdom is to be deeply curious, not just about facts or customs, but about the lived experiences, values, and emotional languages of others. This wisdom begins in humility. When you encounter someone different from you, a Stoic does not rush to judge or correct, but instead pauses, observes, asks, "What can I learn here?" Or, "What pain or joy shaped this person's worldview?" In this pause, we transcend ego. We drop the armor of assumption and adopt the cloak of curiosity. Cultural wisdom is not passive. It is an active pursuit of broader horizons. It is reading books from perspectives you don't understand. It is listening to music that echoes stories you've never lived. It is walking through unfamiliar neighborhoods with respect, not voyeurism. It is learning to pronounce names correctly, not because it's polite, but because it's a recognition of dignity. These small acts accumulate into a quiet charisma that cannot be taught, only earned through lived engagement. It's easy to be charismatic in a room full of people who mirror your worldview. The test of true character, however, is how you hold yourself when surrounded by difference. Do you shrink? Do you dominate? Or do you adapt with grace? The person of cultural wisdom does not pretend to know it all. They ask thoughtful questions. They listen without preparing their next response. They don't speak to prove their enlightenment, but to connect. And when they are silent, it's not empty, it's full of attention. This type of silent magnetism creates an energy of comfort. People of all backgrounds feel seen in your presence because you don't impose your narrative over theirs. You leave room for them to breathe. You invite them to share, and you do so without expectation or entitlement. That in itself is radical. In a world still dominated by loud declarations of who is right, the person who listens with genuine interest, without trying to win or convert, radiates something rare and unforgettable. But cultural wisdom isn't only outward, it deepens the soul inwardly too. Each new story, each foreign custom, each challenge to your assumptions is a chisel, shaping your character into something more nuanced, more flexible, more whole. The Stoics knew that the wise man is adaptable, not because he has no spine, but because his values are rooted so deeply that surface-level change does not disturb them. He can stand in any storm and find calm. He can walk into any room and remain fully himself, yet sensitive to everyone else. Marcus Aurelius urged his readers to look beneath the surface. This advice applies not just to life, but to people. Don't stop at appearance, accent, or opinion. Seek what lies underneath, the longing, the struggle, the joy. When you live like this, you become a bridge, not a spotlight. And in a world full of division, the one who connects rather than divides becomes quietly magnetic. They become the rare person who can move fluidly across social circles, countries, and conversations. Not because they try to impress, but because they respect. Practically speaking, start by reading beyond your comfort zone. Pick up literature from countries you've never visited. Follow thinkers who challenge your worldview, not to argue, but to learn. Speak less in debates. Ask, "Can you tell me more?" instead of, "Here's what I think." Travel when possible, not as a consumer of culture, but as a student of it. And when you return, carry the stillness of those lessons in how you treat others, especially those who have never been given the microphone. Cultural wisdom requires emotional courage. It means confronting the parts of yourself that are rigid or unaware. But it is a noble journey. It makes you expansive. It gives you a presence that cannot be faked. When people encounter someone who listens deeply, asks meaningful questions, and carries knowledge with grace, not arrogance, they don't just remember the facts you shared. They remember how they felt around you, seen, understood, safe. And this This ability to walk in any room with gentle strength and reverence for the stories of others is one of the most powerful forms of silent attractiveness there is. Step 7. Heartbeat of compassion, the silent strength of empathy. Compassion is often misunderstood as a passive or sentimental trait. In a world that celebrates bold action and grand gestures, the quiet, steady rhythm of compassion can be overlooked. Yet in its gentleness lies immense power. Compassion is not loud. It does not demand attention or gratitude. Instead, it thrives in the small, consistent acts that may go unnoticed by others but create an enduring impact on those who experience it. It is a calm hand on a troubled shoulder. It is a patient ear in the midst of someone's turmoil. It is a silence that offers comfort, not with words, but with presence. Stoicism, often thought to focus on emotional detachment, frames empathy not as a weakness, but as a profound strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoics, wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." This simple statement reminds us that we are all part of a greater whole. Compassion is the recognition of this shared humanity. It is an acknowledgement that the pain of one person affects us all, and that our shared joys, struggles, and experiences bind us together. To embody the heartbeat of compassion is to give without expecting, to support without trying to fix, and to listen without judgment. It's about showing up for others not as a savior, but as a steady presence. Compassion is the gift of space. It is the ability to hold someone's pain without trying to remove it, to offer understanding without rushing in with solutions. The Stoic's path is not to be unmoved by the suffering of others, but to cultivate a deep well of emotional resilience so that we can provide steady support without being consumed by the emotions we encounter. In a world that often glorifies speed and efficiency, compassion moves at its own pace. It does not rush to solve the problem. Instead, it takes the time to truly listen, to validate, and to understand. This patience, this ability to sit in the discomfort with someone, is one of the most profound ways to cultivate silent magnetism. The person who offers compassionate presence is a rare individual in a world of quick fixes. Their strength lies not in the answers they provide, but in the space they create for others to feel seen and heard. Compassion begins with self-compassion. The Stoics knew that only by nurturing ourselves could we authentically offer support to others. Seneca, in his letters, often emphasized the importance of self-care, not in a self-indulgent sense, but as a foundation for emotional resilience. "No man is free who is not master of himself," he wrote. Self-compassion is not about pampering oneself, but about cultivating a steady inner peace, which becomes the cornerstone of extending empathy outward. You cannot give from an empty well. By nurturing your own emotional health, you become a wellspring of stability for those around you. True compassion, then, begins by making space for your own emotions and recognizing your own humanity. It means treating yourself with the same gentleness and understanding that you would offer a friend in need. This act of self-compassion, of acknowledging your flaws and struggles with grace, becomes the foundation upon which you can build compassionate relationships with others. When you offer yourself this gentleness, you teach others to do the same. The heartbeat of compassion is also the heartbeat of trust. It is the subtle force that binds us together in community. When we offer calm support, when we hold space for others without judgment or haste, we create an emotional safety net. People begin to trust us, not just with their successes, but with their vulnerabilities. In the stillness of a compassionate presence, others feel the freedom to be themselves, flaws, fears, and all. And in turn, this creates a magnetic force of connection that transcends surface-level interactions. In times of turbulence, the person who embodies compassion is a beacon of stability. When emotions run high and chaos swirls, those who offer compassion remain grounded, offering a quiet sanctuary for others to find refuge. They do not get swept up in the storm, but stand firm, offering reassurance through their calmness. This does not mean they are immune to suffering. They feel deeply, but they have learned to respond with clarity rather than reaction. Cultivating compassion requires intention. It is a habit, a muscle that must be exercised consistently. It means choosing patience over judgment, listening over speaking, and offering understanding over advice. It is about being present with others, offering them a safe space to express themselves without fear of rejection. Compassion also means recognizing the dignity in others, even in their moments of weakness or failure. It is about seeing the human behind the struggle and responding with kindness, not superiority. In daily practice, this can look like many things: a gentle word to someone in distress, a quiet act of service without expectation of recognition, or simply sitting in silence with someone who needs it. It may also mean holding space for yourself in moments of difficulty, offering yourself the same patience and understanding you offer to others. These small, intentional acts accumulate over time, weaving a silent strength into your presence that others instinctively recognize. Compassion also means not being afraid to confront pain, both your own and others. It is the courage to face discomfort with grace, knowing that by doing so, you create an opportunity for healing. Stoicism teaches that hardship is not something to avoid, but something to accept and learn from. Compassion in this sense becomes the lens through which we view all struggles, not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth, connection, and understanding. The heartbeat of compassion, then, is not loud or showy. It does not seek to be seen or admired. It simply exists. It is the steady rhythm that, over time, builds trust, nurtures relationships, and creates lasting bonds. It is a silent strength that provides a safe space for others to flourish, and in doing so leaves a profound mark on the world around you. When you live with compassion, you do not need to chase attention. You do not need to prove your worth. Your presence alone, defined by patient, consistent care, becomes a powerful force that attracts others in a way that is quiet, yet unmistakable. Step 8. Laughter and joy, the subtle magnetism of lightness. In a world often burdened by worry and uncertainty, joy and laughter stand as quiet rebels, resilient, yet gentle, powerful, yet unassuming. They are not the loud eruptions of forced mirth, nor the hollow echoes of triviality. True joy, genuine, spontaneous, and free, is a force that invites people in, easing tension and creating a space of connection. It is a silent magnetism that doesn't demand attention but attracts others simply by its presence. Laughter, like joy, is a gift that, when shared, becomes a thread that binds souls together. The Stoics were not without humor. Despite their reputation for cultivating discipline and emotional restraint, they understood that laughter and lightness have a place within the fabric of resilience. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that our power lies not in controlling the events around us, but in controlling our responses to them. He emphasized that, while we cannot always avoid difficulty or hardship, we always have the choice of how we react. In this way, Stoic resilience finds a kind of quiet joy, not in the absence of suffering, but in the ability to laugh in its face. Genuine joy is not something that can be forced. It does not stem from a contrived performance, but from an authentic response to life's absurdities and beauties. It's the recognition that, in every moment of discomfort or difficulty, there is an opportunity for lightness. The Stoics taught that our attachment to rigid outcomes creates much of our suffering. But when we let go of our expectations and find humor in the unexpected, we open ourselves to a deeper, more resilient form of joy. When we laugh, we loosen the grip of tension, allowing our hearts and minds to breathe. Laughter is a way of saying, "This moment does not control me." It is a reminder that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to engage with them. In the face of frustration or challenge, those who have mastered the art of joy have the unique ability to let go of their stress, even if just for a moment, and approach life with lightness. They laugh at themselves, not out of self-deprecation, but in acknowledgement of the human experience in all its imperfection. This ability to laugh at one's own missteps and see the humor in the struggles of life is an expression of profound self-acceptance. Authentic joy, however, is not simply about being cheerful or lighthearted for the sake of it. It is about cultivating a deep sense of inner peace that naturally radiates outward. It is the quiet smile of someone who has learned to find joy in small things, the warmth of a shared joke, the beauty of nature, or the simple pleasure of being in good company. This joy is magnetic not because it seeks to entertain, but because it invites others into a shared, human experience of happiness that transcends superficiality. The Stoics were keenly aware of the need for balance. They practiced the idea of ataraxia, a state of serene tranquility that does not react with turbulence to the inevitable ups and downs of life. But in their calmness, they also understood that a cheerful heart is an integral part of resilience. Seneca, for example, would write in his letters that joy and tranquility are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist. For it is joy that helps us endure hardship with grace, and tranquility that allows us to enjoy joy without clinging to it. This is the Stoic dance, embracing joy fully, but not being enslaved by it. Sharing laughter and joy is one of the most powerful ways to connect with others. When we laugh, we momentarily suspend the burdens of life. And in that moment, we create a bond with those around us. This is especially true in social settings. A person who shares an authentic laugh becomes instantly relatable. People are drawn to those who can find humor in their own imperfections because it shows vulnerability. It shows that we are not trying to be perfect or invincible, but that we are human, just like everyone else. But joy and laughter also invite us to surround ourselves with uplifting people. Those whose energy doesn't drain us, but whose presence lifts us. The Stoics understood the importance of the company we keep. They believed that our relationships are vital to our well-being, and that it is essential to choose those who align with our values and virtues. Being around people who can laugh genuinely, who can bring lightness to heavy moments, not only makes life more pleasant, but also strengthens our resilience. They remind us that even in the darkest times, there is space for lightheartedness, and there is strength in joy. To practice this habit, begin by allowing yourself to laugh more easily. Laugh at yourself when you make mistakes, not out of self-mockery, but out of an understanding that mistakes are simply part of the process of growth. Share jokes, stories, and moments of joy with others, not to entertain them, but to connect on a deeper, more human level. Make space for humor in your daily life and allow yourself to be spontaneous in your expressions of joy. This does not mean forcing laughter or pretending to be happy when you are not. It means allowing yourself to experience the humor that life offers in its natural, uncontrived form. Genuine joy also involves a deep appreciation for the present moment. The Stoics taught that true happiness comes not from external circumstances, but from internal acceptance and mindfulness. When you are present, when you engage fully in the moment, you open yourself to the joy that exists in the now. You stop worrying about what might go wrong in the future or lamenting what went wrong in the past. In this space of presence, joy becomes a natural response to the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Ultimately, laughter and joy are gifts that make us resilient in a world full of challenges. They remind us that we are capable of embracing life's struggles without being consumed by them. They give us the strength to endure and the grace to move through life with lightness and ease. They invite others in, creating connections that are grounded in authenticity rather than performance. And in this quiet magnetism, others are drawn to your presence. Not because you seek attention, but because you offer something rare and precious, a reminder that even in the most difficult times, joy is possible. Step 9. Art of self-care. The quiet power of discipline. Self-care is often misunderstood in today's world. It is frequently equated with indulgence or escapism, a retreat from life's challenges in favor of temporary comforts. However, true self-care, especially through the lens of Stoic wisdom, is about discipline, balance, and a deep respect for one's own well-being. It is not about pampering the self in a fleeting attempt to ease discomfort, but about fostering a foundation of physical, mental, and emotional health that enables you to show up as your best self consistently. It is a commitment to the principle that you cannot give from an empty vessel. and that in order to care for others, you must first learn to care for yourself. The Stoic philosophers, particularly Seneca, understood the integral connection between mind and body. Seneca wrote that a sound mind and a sound body were essential to a fulfilling life. A healthy body is a guest chamber for the soul, a sick body is a prison, he said. In this sense, self-care is not a luxury, but a necessity, a daily practice that honors both the body and the mind, ensuring they are in harmony and capable of carrying out the work of life with purpose and vigor. Self-care, when approached through the Stoic lens, is a form of self-respect. It is an understanding that your body and mind are not separate from your mission in life, but rather integral to your ability to live according to your values and contribute meaningfully to the world. To neglect self-care is to undermine your own potential. To prioritize it is to honor the gift of your body, mind, and spirit, ensuring that you have the strength and clarity to meet life's challenges head-on. The Stoics practice self-care not out of vanity, but out of necessity. Physical health is the foundation that enables you to carry out your duties without hindrance. Regular exercise, nourishing food, and restorative rest are not mere indulgences, but practices that enhance your capacity for virtue. They create the physical strength necessary to endure adversity with resilience, and the mental clarity needed to make sound decisions. In this way, self-care becomes a form of preparation for life's challenges, allowing you to be fully present and fully capable when those challenges arise. Exercise, in the Stoic tradition, is not about attaining an ideal physique or pushing oneself to extremes. It is about maintaining a body that is fit and capable, one that serves as a vessel for your thoughts and actions. Marcus Aurelius, despite his position as emperor, made time for physical activity, recognizing that a strong body was essential for a clear mind and a balanced life. Stoic exercise focuses on discipline rather than aesthetic goals, understanding that movement, strength, and endurance help maintain the energy required to pursue virtue in all areas of life. Equally important is nourishment. The Stoics were not concerned with the excesses of indulgence, but with providing the body with what it needs to thrive. In his letters, Seneca advised moderation in all things, including food. A balanced, simple diet is a form of self-care that supports mental clarity and emotional balance. Just as the Stoics refrained from unnecessary indulgence in luxuries, so too did they avoid excess in their diets, choosing sustenance that nurtures the body without overstimulating it. Eating for health, not pleasure, aligns the body's needs with the mind's capacity for focus and discipline. Rest, too, is a crucial aspect of self-care. The Stoics understood the importance of sleep and recovery for mental and emotional resilience. The idea of constant activity or work without rest is at odds with Stoic philosophy. It is in stillness and sleep that the mind replenishes, finding balance after the exertions of the day. Prioritizing rest allows you to return to your responsibilities refreshed, centered, and prepared to handle whatever comes your way with clarity and steadiness. Beyond physical well-being, self-care also involves setting and maintaining boundaries, an essential Stoic practice. In a world that demands constant attention, the ability to protect your energy is paramount. The Stoics practiced discernment in their interactions, choosing carefully with whom they spent time and what activities they engaged in. To protect your time and energy is to respect your own well-being. Boundaries are not about isolation. Rather, they are about ensuring that you have the space to nurture yourself so that you can show up fully for others when the time comes. Setting boundaries is also a form of emotional self-care. The Stoics understood that our emotional state is within our control, even when external circumstances are beyond our reach. By practicing emotional resilience and accepting the things we cannot change, we create space to protect our emotional well-being. It is through this calm acceptance, not reactive frustration, that we build a steady foundation of peace within ourselves. This emotional discipline allows us to navigate life with grace, unaffected by the trivial dramas or distractions that often consume others. Stoic care also means cultivating mental clarity and emotional balance. In the chaos of daily life, it is easy to become overwhelmed by the noise of external demands and internal insecurities. Stoic practices such as journaling, reflection, and meditation allow us to center ourselves, to return to our values, and to regain perspective. These practices do not only soothe the mind, they strengthen it. The act of sitting with oneself in stillness, reflecting on one's thoughts and actions, creates a sense of clarity that strengthens resolve and deepens self-understanding. Ultimately, the art of self-care is not about indulgence. It is about discipline and respect for the body, mind, and spirit. It is the daily commitment to practices that nourish and fortify us so that we can show up fully in our lives, ready to engage with others and the world around us. By committing to self-care, we build a quiet confidence, a stability that emanates outward and inspires those around us. We become a stabilizing force, not because we seek attention or accolades, but because we have cultivated a deep sense of inner peace and strength that others naturally gravitate toward. Through self-care, we align our actions with our highest values, ensuring that we are always prepared to fulfill our roles as family members, friends, colleagues, and citizens. This quiet, consistent discipline becomes the foundation upon which we build a life of purpose and meaning, enabling us to be present for others without losing ourselves in the process. Step 10. Emotional intelligence and social awareness, the quiet strength of understanding. In the Stoic worldview, true wisdom lies not only in understanding oneself, but also in understanding others. Emotional intelligence and social awareness are the quiet forces that enable us to navigate the complexities of human relationships with grace and integrity. They are not loud or forceful qualities, but subtle and often unspoken forms of strength, quietly guiding our actions and responses to the world around us. Through the cultivation of these virtues, we learn to read emotions, respond appropriately, and create an environment of trust, empathy, and mutual respect. The Stoics were keenly aware of the human condition and the emotions that drive behavior. Epictetus, one of the foremost Stoic philosophers, emphasized the importance of understanding human nature. He advised, "Listen twice as much as you speak." This simple yet profound advice highlights the importance of paying attention, not only to what is being said, but to how it is being said, to the unspoken cues and emotional undercurrents that shape interaction. Emotional intelligence, from a Stoic perspective, is the ability to understand these subtle signals and respond with clarity, compassion, and wisdom. At its core, emotional intelligence is rooted in self-awareness. It requires a deep understanding of one's own emotions, motivations, and triggers. The Stoics believed that in order to respond with virtue in any given situation, one must first know oneself. "Know thyself" was the famous dictum inscribed at the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, a call for all to engage in deep self-reflection. To act without this knowledge is to risk responding impulsively or from a place of unchecked emotion, which leads to conflict, regret, and a lack of control over one's actions. Self-awareness allows us to recognize our own emotional states before they dictate our responses. When we are aware of our feelings, whether frustration, joy, anger, or fear, we are empowered to choose how we respond. The Stoics taught that we are not controlled by our emotions, rather, we control our emotions by understanding them. This inner clarity allows us to engage with others calmly, without being swept away by the tides of our own feelings. By practicing this awareness, we develop the ability to maintain composure in difficult situations, leading by example and inspiring trust in others. But self-awareness is only one half of emotional intelligence. The other half is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Epictetus also taught that we should approach others with compassion, recognizing that they too are human, subject to the same fears, joys, and frustrations that we experience. Empathy is the practice of attuning oneself to the emotional landscape of another, seeing the world through their eyes, and responding in a way that fosters understanding, support, and connection. Empathy does not mean losing oneself in another's emotions or becoming overly involved in their struggles. Rather, it is the capacity to listen deeply, to provide validation without judgment, and to offer a response that honors their experience. It is the gentle art of acknowledging another person's emotional state without attempting to fix or change it. The Stoics valued this kind of emotional presence, recognizing that the ability to listen and hold space for another's feelings is a profound form of wisdom and strength. Equally important is social awareness, an extension of emotional intelligence that involves understanding the dynamics of social interactions. It is the ability to read a room, to notice the unsaid, and to act with sensitivity to the emotional atmosphere. Social awareness allows us to observe the subtle signals in a conversation, body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, and respond accordingly. In this way, we can navigate social situations with ease, adapting our approach to meet the needs of the moment and the people around us. The Stoics practiced a form of social awareness that involved keen observation of human behavior. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on human nature, noting how people are driven by desires, fears, and insecurities. He understood that the actions of others were often not personal attacks, but rather expressions of their own internal struggles. By recognizing this, he cultivated patience and understanding in his dealings with others, responding not with irritation or judgment, but with wisdom and restraint. This same social awareness can be applied in modern life, allowing us to see beyond surface-level interactions and engage with others in a deeper, more meaningful way. Active listening is a key practice in both emotional intelligence and social awareness. To listen actively is to give one's full attention to the speaker without interrupting, judging, or formulating a response before the other has finished. It is to be present in the moment, fully engaged in understanding the speaker's perspective. This form of listening requires patience and restraint, qualities that the Stoics held in high regard. In a world where distractions abound and conversation often becomes a competition for attention, active listening stands as a rare and valuable skill. It is a gift that allows others to feel seen, heard, and understood, a gift that strengthens relationships and builds trust. By practicing active listening and cultivating emotional and social awareness, we become conduits for calm energy. In a world that often feels chaotic and divided, the ability to provide stability and understanding is a rare and cherished trait. Those who master this skill are able to diffuse tension, foster harmony, and guide others through difficult emotions. They are trusted advisors, wise friends, and steady leaders. People who create a space where others feel safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. As Epictetus advised, the ability to listen with empathy and understanding is essential in building meaningful relationships. When we listen twice as much as we speak, we create the space for others to share their thoughts and feelings freely. This not only deepens our understanding of them, but also shows them the respect they deserve. It fosters a sense of mutual trust, which is the cornerstone of any strong relationship, whether personal or professional. The art of emotional intelligence and social awareness is not just about improving our relationships with others, it is also about cultivating inner peace. When we understand the emotions of those around us, we are less likely to react impulsively or take offense. We become less attached to the outcomes of interactions and more focused on responding with wisdom, patience, and compassion. This emotional clarity allows us to remain centered in the midst of chaos and to engage with others in a way that fosters harmony rather than conflict. To practice this habit, begin by developing greater self-awareness. Take time each day to reflect on your emotional responses to various situations. What triggers certain feelings within you? How can you choose to respond differently in the future? Cultivate empathy by actively listening to others, focusing on understanding their emotional state without judgment. Observe the social dynamics around you and learn to read the room before acting. By embracing these principles, you can enhance your emotional intelligence, strengthen your social awareness, and become a force of calm, understanding, and trust in a world that often feels divided and disconnected. Step 11. Consistency and reliability, the pillars of integrity and trust. In the Stoic tradition, virtue is not merely a matter of momentary actions or fleeting sentiments, but of consistent, deliberate effort. Consistency and reliability are the twin pillars that uphold a reputation of unwavering trust and integrity. These habits go beyond the surface of actions and words, reaching into the core of one's character. In a world often marked by uncertainty and impermanence, the ability to be steadfast, to act in alignment with one's values regardless of external circumstances, becomes a rare and magnetic quality. The Stoics understood that true strength lies in the consistency of our deeds, in our ability to embody our principles day after day without deviation or distraction. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most prominent Stoic emperor, believed that virtue is manifested not in grand gestures, but in the quiet, consistent practice of moral excellence. He famously urged, "Be good through deeds, not words." This timeless advice speaks to the essence of Stoic integrity, that our true character is revealed not by the promises we make, but by the actions we take in accordance with our principles. It is not enough to speak of virtue, wisdom, or strength. We must embody these qualities in every aspect of our lives. Through steady, reliable actions, we cultivate the trust of others, creating an unshakable foundation on which relationships and respect are built. At its core, consistency is about aligning actions with values, regardless of external circumstances. It is easy to act virtuously when things are going well, when the world is in harmony and there is little to challenge us. But true Stoic strength is revealed when we are able to maintain our principles in the face of adversity, pressure, or temptation. This requires inner fortitude, the capacity to remain true to one's moral compass despite the distractions and demands of the outside world. The Stoics taught that we must not allow external events or the behavior of others to disturb our inner peace. Instead, we must cultivate the ability to act in accordance with our values, regardless of the chaos or challenges that surround us. Reliability, too, is built on a foundation of consistent actions. To be reliable is to be someone others can count on, not just in the big moments, but in the small, everyday occurrences that shape our interactions. It is in the act of keeping promises, showing up when expected, and fulfilling obligations with dedication and care that we build our reputation as someone others can trust. The Stoics emphasized that our words and actions must align, for only through such integrity can we earn the trust and respect of others. A reliable person does not seek to impress or gain approval. Instead, they seek to be true to their commitments and their values, knowing that their consistency will speak louder than any boastful declaration. The impact of consistency and reliability is far-reaching. While dramatic gestures or loud proclamations may capture attention momentarily, it is the quiet, consistent efforts that leave lasting impressions. A person who is punctual, who follows through on commitments, who is calm and stable in their emotions, even in the face of stress, creates an aura of trustworthiness and respect. Over time, these small, reliable actions accumulate into a reputation for integrity, making the individual a pillar in the community, someone others look to for guidance, stability, and wisdom. This habit is not about perfection or never faltering. The Stoics understood that we are human and will inevitably face moments of weakness or failure. However, what sets the Stoic apart is the ability to return to one's values and commitments after a misstep, to realign with one's principles, and to consistently strive for improvement. It is through these repeated efforts, each one building upon the last, that we create a life of lasting significance and impact. Reliability does not demand perfection. It demands persistence, resilience, and a willingness to uphold one's integrity even when it is difficult. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, believed that the quality of one's character is defined not by occasional acts of brilliance, but by the small, consistent choices we make each day. "No man is good by chance," he wrote, "but by choice." It is through the constant, deliberate choices to act in accordance with virtue that we build a character worthy of admiration. These choices may seem inconsequential in the moment, whether it is arriving on time for a meeting, following through on a commitment, or refraining from a rash emotional outburst, but over time they form the bedrock of a trustworthy, reliable character. The consistency and reliability practiced by the Stoics also extend to emotional stability. Emotional turbulence can be a major barrier to cultivating a magnetic presence. When we react impulsively or allow our emotions to control us, we undermine our own sense of peace and stability. In contrast, emotional consistency, remaining calm, composed, and measured in all situations, creates an aura of steadiness that others find deeply reassuring. The Stoics believed that our emotions, while natural, should not dictate our behavior. Instead, we must train ourselves to respond with wisdom and temperance, allowing us to remain reliable and composed, regardless of external circumstances. This emotional stability is an essential component of silent attractiveness, for it allows us to engage with others from a place of grounded serenity rather than reactive instability. To practice consistency and reliability in your own life, begin by identifying your core values, those principles that guide your decisions and actions. Make a commitment to align your daily choices with these values, no matter how small. Recognize that consistency is built through daily practice, through the repeated efforts to show up for others, to honor your word, and to maintain emotional stability in the face of life's challenges. Over time, you will cultivate a reputation for integrity and dependability, and you will find that your actions speak louder than any words could ever do. It is important to remember that this habit is not about seeking validation or admiration from others. Instead, it is about living in such a way that you become someone whose presence commands respect and trust, not through showmanship, but through quiet, consistent, reliable actions. In the Stoic view, the goal is not to be noticed for our virtue, but to be virtuous because it is the right thing to do, regardless of recognition or reward. By practicing consistency and reliability, you embody the principles of Stoic wisdom, creating a life that is grounded in integrity, trust, and enduring respect. In conclusion, silent attractiveness is a magnetic quality that emanates from inner alignment and self-assurance rather than external validation or superficial traits. The 11 habits outlined, rooted in Stoic wisdom, guide us in cultivating calm confidence, emotional intelligence, and authentic presence. By embracing principles such as independence, silent elegance, and compassion, you can project a presence that commands respect and admiration effortlessly. Practices like prioritizing self-care, nurturing cultural curiosity, and maintaining consistency and reliability help transform not only how others perceive you, but also how you view yourself. True magnetism arises from steady, intentional living, a quiet strength built on virtues that resonate beyond the noise of the world around you. If you found this exploration valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on cultivating a life of purpose, wisdom, and authentic presence.